Hello, welcome. My name is Dan Meyer. I'm editor-in-chief of RCR Wireless News, and today we're talking with Alistair Scott, who's the director in the CTO office at JDSU, to talk a bit about the company's virtualization plans and kind of how they play in the virtualization space in regards to the telecom industry. So, hey, Alistair, thanks for taking the time today. We appreciate it.
Sure. Thanks, Dan. Good to
Great.
see
Well,
you.
maybe let's get, I guess, a bit of an overview from JDSU and kind of how you guys participate in this virtualization space. I mean, obviously, for the telecom industry, it's a big topic right now. A lot of announcements, a lot of carriers moving into that space. What does JDSU bring to that? I guess to that platform.
Yeah, so JDSU has been, very focused around two main areas in telecoms traditionally. A lot of portable instrumentation. Field engineers bringing devices out to either set up or troubleshoot networks out in the field. So we're very focused on that. And then from the more core and service platform side of the networks, a lot of assurance infrastructure for troubleshooting, monitoring the service quality in that environment as well. So our work in virtualization has really been across the board, looking at how can we extend the use model for the field engineers, make them more effective, either embedding some of that functionality into network equipment or virtualizing some of that instrumentation, but also on the assurance side, looking at how that assurance infrastructure needs to be virtualized itself, moving away from dedicated hardware infrastructure into software instances of that, but also looking at the problem space of saying, well, now that a carrier service provider is running their service on a hybrid environment, maybe with some legacy physical infrastructure or some new virtualization infrastructure, what new requirements does that bring into the assurance space? And then looking at that problem set so that we are not just virtualizing what we used to have, but actually looking at the new problem space to understand, okay, what new things do you now need to take account of? There's contention on a shared virtual resource that you didn't have when you were working in dedicated space before on their various service elements. And so we're taking a good focus on that whole stack, right away from the physical to virtual to the service and application layer, working at how best to assure that.
Got it. Okay. And that seems to kind of, I guess, play into the whole orchestration aspect of this virtualization move. I know I'm doing a report on looking at that right now, and it seems like service orchestration and network orchestration to an extent too are pretty big topics right now when it comes to this move. Because obviously, like you're saying, I mean, operators need to be able to work with their legacy equipment and also the new equipment. And there's got to be some sort of a tie there between the two. And it seems like that's kind of a big part of this, making sure that the legacy and the new can still talk to each other. Because again, these are networks that are generating lots of money, lots of revenues. You can't just shut these things off. You have to kind of, there's going to be this transition period, and you have to make sure that this stuff can all speak together. How does JDSU, I guess, operate in that space and making sure that operators and the industry itself can kind of keep moving forward while still not losing a bit of the past there too?
Yeah, so the orchestration is an interesting area, and I think it's going to be some years before we get to a fully orchestrated network because many elements need to be in place for that. So actually, JDSU's engaged in a couple of different projects, several POCs, starting to move towards that. But the first step, I think, is getting away from pure hardware and getting things virtualized and being able to monitor and assure that the performance of even virtual instances, even somewhat manually instantiated virtual instances, get to that level. And I think that's where a lot of the industry is today. A lot of the early deployments of virtualized infrastructure in the telco space, at least, are in a very non-orchestrated fashion, right? Mm-hmm. And so I think as we move to levels of orchestration, there'll be the kind of flow through provisioning and the automation at that level, and that will start to hit. So there'll be the kind of first level orchestration, then ultimately leading to a kind of more of a closed loop, self-optimizing environment where the orchestration is actually making autonomous decisions about where things should be. And I think that's the vision for NFV is very much around that, the auto scaling, etc. One of the projects that we're involved in Telemanagement Forum with Ericsson, Microsoft, is around looking at the whole problem space of looking at how you can use that orchestration and automation to actually maximize profitability in the network. So it's an interesting area because it's not just taking a technical view of where is the resource available to run a particular virtual instance. But it's actually looking at saying, well, should we run it here? Should we run it there? Should we double up on the instances from a business profitability point of view, which after all is the core driver under all of this. And so that's been a very interesting catalyst project that we're doing. with them, because it's the first one really that's taking much more of a business view than just get the technology working. And so we're starting to look at what real-time instrumentation of the network is required to allow it to then make those optimization decisions, both from a technical point of view and a business profitability point of view, and make those in real time, model the consequences, and then select an option and orchestrate the change that's needed. So that's going to be a big feature, I think, of these networks as they mature over the next few years.
Yeah, and obviously, I mean, the business side of this, that's a big part of this, because like you said, I mean, these are business decisions that have to be made. I mean, a company, the technicians can't, they have to have some sort of business model to take up to the C-level executives to make all this profitable and make it work for them. And so I know I've talked with some analysts on this, and that's been kind of the challenge, it seems, is getting that business ROI model out there. And it sounds like that's something you guys are definitely focused on, is making sure that, that these guys can at least show something that, hey, this makes sense, and this is the reason why this makes sense.
Right. Because if I think there's somewhat of a step change moving from dedicated hardware appliances to software that can be deployed as and where required. But I think in terms of really managing to optimize the live infrastructure, that's where the real-time visibility on the state of the network is, the quality of the service that's being delivered, how much contention can you sustain within the network and really drive the network to higher levels of utilization, because really that's some of the underlying factors are really driving that network harder, and that means you need a lot more visibility and be able to fine tune it, because it's no longer a static network environment. You've got a dynamic network with a somewhat dynamic load on it, and that needs constant real-time optimization to get the most from it.
Yeah, definitely. Well, hey, these are exciting times, definitely in the telecom market. Obviously, with this virtualization move, it's keeping a lot of guys probably up at night and keeping you guys busy, I'm sure. So, good time to be there. And it looks like, again, like the operators are definitely pushing this a lot too. So it seems like you're getting good support from the top, as well as you guys are working pretty hard too. So it seems like exciting times right now for you guys, I'm sure.
It is. It's in fact, I mean, JDSU in July is transforming into Viavi Solutions. That'll be our new company name from July.
Yep.
And one of the transformations that we're putting into the company is actually our focus. What we're seeing is this large blurring between the carrier cloud, the service providers that are traditional, and the data center based cloud providers, and managed enterprise and hybrid cloud environments. A lot of merging between those. And so one of the big focus areas for Viavi Solutions going forward is going to be, how do we provide service assurance across that much more hybrid environment, where it's no longer kind of distinct players and distinct handoffs between those, but a lot of interdependency between the services that a service provider is offering from other upstream providers, not just over-the-top service providers, but partnered, resold services as part of a bundle going to the enterprise for managed services. And so that that whole new landscape is the one that we see with JDSU moving into Viavi as a big focus area.
Yeah, obviously a much bigger market opportunity for you guys as well too. So that'll be probably exciting to watch, and I'm sure we'll drive a lot of growth for you guys too. That sounds like a pretty exciting times coming up for you guys going forward too. So, well, great, Alistair. We definitely appreciate the time and insight on this today. Obviously, it sounds like you guys are pretty busy, and we'll be busier going forward too. So, again, thanks for the time today. We appreciate it.
Great, thank you.
All right.